Brianna said that she's trying to log on right now. So we'll go ahead and get things started. She can join us whenever she gets on here. Do we have a roll call, Jessica?
We do. Chair Martin?
Here.
Vice Chair Hamilton?
Present.
Regent Whitten? Regent Hall? Regent Higdon?
Here.
Regent Stevens?
Here.
Regent Rabinowitz? We have quorum.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you all for joining us today. I know everybody's busy. We'll try to keep this as short as possible. Approval of the April 29th meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look over them? Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
Motion.
Got a motion, second?
Brianna, second.
Okay, Brianna, second. Okay,
Are there any objections to the motion to approve the April 29th, 2025 minutes? Noting none, the motion passes by consensus.
okay. Thank you all. Now we're going to review the responses from the KCTCS Systems President's Evaluation Survey. Did everybody get the email yesterday evening from Shannon with the results?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess we need to go over them one by one, right?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, I would go over them individually and just go over what the results were.
Okay. The first section is learner success. The vision is put students first. Increase partnerships with four-year colleges and universities to improve transfer education pathways for KCTCS students to help KCTCS support academic and career success of students across the state. That was goal 1. Dr. Quarles had 11 exceeds and 2 meets. Goal 2, build community relations and the potential for donors to provide more robust financial solutions for students. 7 exceeds and 6 meets. Anytime anyone wants to add any comments, please go ahead and we'll stop. Re-envision what advancement and fundraising means for KCTCS and outline a plan to restructure to increase resources to help students. We had 6 exceeds, 6 meets, and 1 in progress. And by the way, we did have 100% participation from the Board of Regents. So I really appreciate each and every one of the regents responding and giving this input. Goal 4, travel to the campuses of all 16 colleges and meet with all college presidents to gain a better understanding of programs offered, what is available on campuses, and to meet students. Dr. Quarles had 8 exceeds, 4 meets, and 1 in progress. Counter federal delays with the free application for federal student aid with a quick and significant response to provide students with communications, financial estimations, and application enrollment assistance. He had 5 exceeds and 8 meets. That is one that is kind of hard because a lot of that is totally out of his control. We have comments for the first portion of it for the vision. We had 1 comment. Dr. Quarles has done a great job of putting students first during the first year. Any questions or comments about the first section of vision? Employment success. The vision is grow and facilitate community partnerships. Goal 1, build relationships with workforce and municipality partners, including the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce and the Kentucky Education and Labor Cabinet, to identify employment pathways for KCTCS students. He had 11 exceeds, 1 meet, and 1 in progress. Goal 2, develop a statewide workforce plan. There were 5 exceeds, 6 meets, and 2 in progress. Comments from the board. It is crucial to create MOAs with 4-year universities to provide tuition waivers and discounts for faculty and staff. Brian has established strong relationships and has raised the visibility and reputation of KCTCS throughout Kentucky. Organization success. The vision is to build responsible organizational and business practices. Goal 1 is complete current audits, including the KCTCS internal audit, forensic audit, and the audit of the Fire Commission, Kentucky Fire Commission. He had 11 exceeds and 2 meets. Cure all state audit findings for KCTCS, 8 exceeds and 5 meets. Cure all audit findings for the Kentucky Fire Commission and clarify the roles between our partnership organizations, 8 exceeds and 5 meets. Complete an organization-wide restructuring, KCTCS, to reduce redundancies, improve efficiencies. Here it was 4 exceeds, 5 meets, and 4 in progress. Build out system office cabinet in order to provide more experts and voices at the table for organization-wide strategic decision-making. We had 6 exceeds, 5 meets, and 2 in progress. Comments from the board in regards to these items. Dr. Quarles has done an excellent job ensuring transparency throughout the KCTCS audit process. Staff issues are very difficult. Ryan has tackled them head on. A lot of progress has been made, but I believe we are not there yet. Inherited a mess, has assembled a credible team. They must now execute and build a better culture. With the new organization of the system office, cost, number of new personnel, what has been removed from the 16 colleges to reduce their load, and executive salaries not only at the system office, but at the colleges. So it looks like we need to hone in a little bit on that area.
Yep.
Organization success. Promote aggressive advocacy. Develop and implement an official advocacy policy for KCTCS employees. We had 6 exceeds, 6 meets, and 1 in progress. Build relationships with key legislators who will advocate for KCTCS in the Kentucky legislature and with Kentucky's representatives in Congress for their support at the federal level. Dr. Quarles got 11 exceeds and 2 meets. Establish advocacy days during the annual session of the Kentucky legislature, where KCTCS leadership, faculty, and students can meet with state legislators about the important work of KCTCS. He had 9 exceeds, 3 meets, and 1 unknown. Not really sure what the unknown meant. Develop a legislative agenda for the 2025 session of the Kentucky General Assembly that addresses the evolving needs of KCTCS and the required resources to support the SJR 179 action plan. He had 6 exceeds and 7 meets. Identify opportunities for collaboration with the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education. He had 8 exceeds and 5 meets. Comments from the board. To promote aggressive advocacy. Lots of work to be done in this area. It will always be a challenge to have the legislators fund KCTCS and give us the resources that we need. Advocacy is a strong suit. President has excelled here. Organization success. Focus on the future, SJR 179. Establish a collaborative process for addressing the components of SJR 179 that includes college presidents, faculty, and staff representatives from the colleges and system office and KCTCS stakeholders. We have 5 exceeds, 7 meets, and 1 in progress. develop a research and informed response to SJR 179 that creates a roadmap for a visionary and student-focused future for the KCTCS system. Exceeds 6, meets 7. Outline a strategy to address the enrollment cliff and begin plans to address the impacts of this event. 4 exceeds, 5 meets, and 4 in progress. Comments from the board in regards to the SJR 179. Dr. Quarles did an excellent job collaborating with project teams to make recommendations, provide status updates, and maintain constant communications with the Board of Regents to ensure a seamless flow of information. We are still a little bit away from the enrollment cliff, but we need to be working on a plan on what we are going to do. A lot of hard work and time went into the issue of SJR 179. Each of the colleges and system office did a great job and met the deadline. KCTCS did their job. However, as a board member, I was disappointed that the legislature reviewed the findings and kicked the item down the road to the regular session. Hopefully, they will address the items during this session. Okay, that was all of the responses in regards to those individually. And then we had open-ended questions that we asked for responses from the Board of Regents, and comments from the board in regards to please provide any feedback on how President Quarles' vision and goals relate to and support the strategic plan adopted by the Board of Regents. I think Dr. Quarles has done a great job supporting the strategic plan adopted by the Board of Regents. Ryan is a big thinker and has enrolled the board in that vision. I think he is doing an excellent job. I feel that he has embraced our vision and goals that were already established. His first take was to take care of the audits and the audit findings and clean up the system. He did that with a new cabinet and made sure that everyone hired was transparent and open to any auditors. He is now looking at what other things can be done while we are cleaning up from the audit recommendations. Dr. Quarles' vision and goals mirror the needs of KCTCS and really promotes KCTCS's position as the leading provider of workforce development. Okay, these are comments from the question. Please provide any feedback on President Quarles' engagement with the Board of Regents. President Quarles has been very transparent with the Board of Regents. He has also made sure to really hear anything the board has brought to the table. Dr. Quarles has exceeded my expectations in board engagement, utilizing text messages, phone calls, committee meetings, and weekly updates, among other methods. He leads an excellent staff that is always available and willing to assist as needed. Dr. Quarles has been a collaborative and open president and has engaged the Board of Regents with the utmost professionalism. Ryan is thoughtful, communicative, and engages appropriately with the board. I think Dr. Quarles does a great job of talking and interacting with all the Board of Regents. On his visits to the 16 colleges, encourage boards to attend the visits with him. Dr. Quarles sends out weekly emails to update the regents, and his information is always valuable, and he always offers his help if we need it. He has always been transparent with us and respects each board member and their work in the KCTCS system. Dr. Quarles and the cabinet he has developed has been exceptional with being transparent and very well prepared for our board meetings. The preparation allows the board to be very informed before the meeting and provides time for healthy discussions and resolutions. Very engaged, great and timely communication without overkill. I think we had a lot of comments from the Board of Regents, which is great. Please identify some of Dr. Quarles' accomplishments. Dr. Quarles has done a great job acknowledging and empowering students, listening to and sharing their stories, being very approachable and down to earth, and fostering strengthening partnerships with four-year institutions across the state to empower students to continue their higher education beyond KCTCS. Building partnerships, signing Goodwill Industries of Kentucky on as an education first employer, and transfer agreement with Murray State University and WKU. Advocacy, KCTCS Advocacy Day of February 4th, 2025, Serving Up Solutions fundraiser in partnership with Feeding Kentucky, set up disaster relief funds at three of our colleges, most importantly impacted by the flooding. SJR 179, advocacy, cabinet positions. He has created a team that is easy to work with. They are open and honest and are willing to help in any way possible. That is the first step to being able to do greater things. I think with his team in place, the audits completed this year will really prove out what our vision is for KCTCS. Audit, building good relationships with all stakeholders. He has been developing transfer partnerships with four-year universities across Kentucky. He has been successful in uniting all KCTCS campuses under the common goals to address SJR 179 and the future of the system. KCTCS needed a president that could lead us through many hurdles. Dr. Quarles has made it past the first wave and has helped calm the waters. We have plenty more to do, but the confidence level in our president and cabinet is at its highest in a long time. The communication and working relationship appears to be a much better position between the college presidents and the system office. Lead board through some tough staffing challenges, rebuild of our system office, reset on culture, establish credible president's council, reset of perceptions of external KCTCS, and strong transparency of audit issues. The last, or no, I'm sorry. Please identify some of President Quarles' strengths. He's very down to earth. He has gone above and beyond to strengthen KCTCS, and he's done so for the right reason, for our students. I look forward to seeing what he does in the coming years. Visionary leadership, ability to develop and implement long-term strategic plans that align with the KCTCS mission and goals while encouraging innovation approaches to education and administration. Strong communication skills and transparency, academic excellence. He has a deep understanding of KCTCS and its value to our communities, coupled with a dedication to maintaining high academic standards and promoting student success. Collaborative and advocacy, excels at building partnerships and advocating for KCTCS across local, state, and federal platforms. Tact, intelligence, and vision. Strategic, communicative, driven. He has a vast network throughout the state of people that he knows. He is able to work more closely with the politicians needed to navigate the legislation waters to put KCTCS in the spot it needs to be. Good communication skills. He's problem solver, good vision for the future. Dr. Quarles knows Frankfurt and how the legislature works. He is a powerful speaker and is respected throughout Kentucky. Very prepared for each board meeting, listening, collaborating when appropriate, acting when needed, convergence with mission, delegation to local campuses when appropriate. So there were a lot of comments in that section as well, which was good. Overall evaluation and any additional comments. Someone put 10 for 10. I firmly believe Dr. Quarles is an excellent president and he has the right mix of talent and drive to lead KCTCS to a bright future. I think Dr. Quarles has done a great job this first year. He has done a great job evaluating where we are and having a vision to see where we need to go in the future. It will take some time to implement his visions and goals, but I believe that we will see that happening sooner rather than later. Great progress. I believe with Dr. Quarles' leadership, we will only get better. With his guidance and the Board of Regents' support, our vision is bright for all 16 colleges and the citizens of Kentucky. At a pivotal juncture where KCTCS needed a strong leader that could communicate with legislators, other higher education institutions, community partners, the 16 colleges, our board, and our students, Dr. Quarles was the right choice. I have never had as much confidence in KCTCS system as I do now under the leadership of Dr. Ryan Quarles. I can say without a moment's hesitation that the future of KCTCS and Kentucky has never been brighter. Dr. Quarles is the right person at the right time to lead this institution, and I am excited about the many great things that will be achieved under his watchful eye and leadership. Somebody said good. Outstanding year. Great strides made in all areas. We'll need to further establish a culture of accountability with colleges and system office. System thinking will become more necessary as we experience headwinds in funding. Discretion between states' rights versus country needs will be a delicate balance. Better days ahead, but what a great start. So, and that's the most I've talked in a long time. Okay, so I've read the results and the comments. Comments from the Board of Regents.
I think it was a great summary, and I concur with the majority of what was stated here. I think he is doing a good job. I do think there's a few things we need to improve, but any organization can always improve. So I don't necessarily say that is a demerit of any sort. So, but I think we got some really good feedback. It looks like the people who filled out this survey valued what they were trying to do and took it very seriously, which is great for us to get this valued information in such a short period of time. But that's what I've got. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank you for encouraging all the members to respond. And to Dr. Qualls, I think you've done an excellent job. We're very proud of you and the direction you're headed. And I think a lot of the comments will only get better. As Vice Chairman said, we've still got some things that we need to work on and resolve, but we're heading in the right directions, and you've done a great job, and I'm very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Quarles will have time to kind of formally respond to us in writing about the comments. And we look forward to seeing what his thoughts are as well. Any other comments from any of the other board members?
Well, I just want to say, and I told Dr. Quarles this himself or myself, but you know, when we first did the election and we chose him, you know, in my mind, I was like, well, you know, oh great, we got a politician. And you know, as a student. And, you know, I didn't even know I'd make it this far at that point in time. But, you know, as a student, the last thing you think is, oh, God, you know, a politician's going to be, you know, messing with my education. And I can honestly say that, you know, he's done the complete opposite of what I expected. And I think he's done a great job, you know, and you know, a great job on the system level, but more importantly, a great job, you know, for the students. I mean, you know, he with Audra and myself, you know, he's been a great mentor, and but you know, he's constantly opening doors for our students across the state. So, you know, I think he's done an awesome job.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Recovering politician.
There's a difference.
Mr. Chair, if no other regents have comments, just a couple of comments from me, but to respond.
Yes, definitely.
First off, thank you for the comments. I'm one of these weird people that love evaluations. I look forward to it. I always want to make sure that I'm goal driven and doing the best I possibly can. But so my first comment is thank you for the evaluation, and thank you for identifying areas that I need to do a little bit better on. So I really do welcome that. Secondly, it's not about me, it's about our team. We put together a great team, so I think a lot of the compliments that we've seen reflected this afternoon is really a compliment of what we've done as a team here at KCTCS. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been part of that team as well. I've grown into the role, and I feel really comfortable. I look forward to the year ahead. And also, we want to invite our regents that this should not be a once in a year thing, that if you ever have an item or a suggestion or something I can do better or focus more on, you all have got my number. Just give me a call, and I would welcome that. I am going to follow up, as the chair said, with written response to the evaluation, so I'll get back to you on that. And also, we're going to use some of the components of this evaluation to finish out the vision and goals for the upcoming year, which will be presented at the June meeting. And I would suggest that if you would like, perhaps by the June board meeting, we adopt maybe a evaluation matrix for my evaluation for the upcoming year as well. But in the meantime, I'm proud of my team. Thank you all for your faith in me. There's always room for improvement, always room to sharpen the knife. And so I look at this as kind of like driving a vehicle. If your check engine light comes on, you need to pull over and check it, see what it is, so you can continue to be the best you possibly can. So look forward to getting back to you all with a written response. Thank you for your faith in me, and it's going to be a great year ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Quarles. Marty?
I know we really can't talk in this one. We kind of can talk. Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate Dr. Quarles. I mean, having been here since almost the very beginning of all the KCTCS system, you have been unlike any of our other presidents we've ever had. Now, that's actually a good thing. I know you're thinking, was that good or bad? It's actually a really, really good thing. And so this is the first time we've had someone with your vision and looking at the students first, and it's been a total different attitude, a way the KCTCS system looks at everything. And so I think you have it right. And that's what I'm trying to get at, is we've been doing this for 20 years or so, and now I feel like this is finally what we're supposed to do. And so just keep doing what you're doing. I think we're going to be doing fantastic in the next few years.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marty. I would like to say a couple things. I really appreciate the Board of Regents really getting on it and doing this. I really appreciate Jessica and Shannon helping out with the process, because realistically, we really didn't. We were kind of working from the seat of our pants, putting the timeline and things in place, and we even set a timeline, and we didn't really get to go by that for different reasons. So thanks for helping us recoup and get back on track for us to provide some feedback for Dr. Quarles and do his evaluation. I think this is really good groundwork for next year for us, like Dr. Quarles said, to set up a good matrix for him to know exactly what we're looking at and how we are measuring him. I think next year we need to really define, what does exceed, meet, and progress, what do those things mean, and to define them. Because to me, when I first looked at our scoring, it was good, but when you look at the comments, those were really, exceeding comments. So I think that we need to kind of help correlate those two together. And I think that it was just the lack of having good direction and good guidance with that. That's what I feel. And I don't know if anyone else feels that way or not, but me looking at it initially made me feel like, the grading part of it didn't match with the comment part. Does anybody have any comments of that?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Some of it was a little bit of a challenge because you're right. You might be having a statement that doesn't correlate with what the label was for that performance metric. But yeah, again, I think some small tweaks would be helpful, but all in all, I think it went really well.
Yeah, I do too. So just like what we're telling him, we got things that we can work on as well between now and next year with the evaluation process. So any other comments in regards to his evaluation, Dr. Quarles' evaluation? Okay, no other comments regarding that. The next agenda item is we really need to, there's some things in the contracts that we're renewing or revising in all the contracts. So we definitely need to keep those in mind. And we need to review Dr. Quarles' contract and probably prepare a new one with those revisions in it. And I'm asking, we actually made a recommendation, I think in the last meeting, to allow the elected officials, which would be the Vice Chair, Keith Hamilton, and Secretary Brianna Witten, and myself, to get together and look at his contract and go over it and make some recommendations for a new contract for our board to submit to our board for approval or voting on in June. So I just wanted to reiterate that. Do we need to have a vote?
I think where the Policy and Planning Committee has already delegated that authority to the officers of the Board of Regents, I think that's fine, just with the understanding that you will provide a recommendation to the June Board of Regents meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, yes, and I don't have any problem with that. I think those changes probably need to be sent out maybe prior to the meeting. So if any member has a question, they can contact you, because we don't want to get it. This is my theory. We don't want to get in a meeting and have anybody to have any heartaches is what I'm saying. So that's my only recommendation I would have.
Okay.
I agree
Yes,
with that.
definitely. Well, you know, we like to get any information we can out early because we don't, you know, we want to make it more efficient. So most definitely, James Lee, we'll any drafts we'll have out to the board in advance of our June meeting. So Jessica, do we need any action on that or just that's
I don't believe-
validate?
I think we're good.
Okay. Next agenda item is federal and state policy update.
Yes.
Okay, as Jessica is getting ready, again, a lot of changes coming out of Frankfurt and Washington, D.C. So if you don't mind, we'd like to go ahead and be proactive about explaining some of the ins and outs of these issues prior to the June board meeting, because some of these laws will require action by not just our board, but all the other public institutions across Kentucky. So we anticipated some questions, and so that's why we're having somewhat of a workshop discussion today, highlighting some changes.
Absolutely, and I'll walk us through the first part of this, which is House Bill 4, and then Chris Crumrine will provide an update on the federal education developments. But if you have a question at any time, please stop me and let me know. We really wanted this session to be informative for you all, so that way by the time the June Board of Regent meeting comes around, we are ready to take action on what we are required to do in order to be compliant with House Bill 4. So with that, I'll jump in. All right, House Bill 4 prohibits the dissemination of discriminatory concepts on college campuses. A discriminatory concept is one that justifies or promotes differential treatment or benefits conferred to individuals on the basis of religion, race, sex, color, or national origin. You will concede on the slide there that it prohibits a number of things, primarily diversity, equity, inclusion offices, as well as personnel, mandatory trainings, preferential admissions, which doesn't apply to us where we're an open admissions institution, preferential scholarships, bias incident reporting, diversity statements, and so on. It does protect a number of things, such as academic freedom, academic programs, student groups, the right to assembly of both our students and our faculty, Freedom of speech is still protected, compliance with state and federal law, accreditation requirements, and sex-based group membership such as sports teams and Greek life. The reason why we're walking through this for you all today is one, so that you're informed, and two, because it requires multiple things from us beginning with at the June board meeting. So moving forward, it's going to require annual compliance reporting, a statement of institutional neutrality that we're going to ask you all to adopt at the June Board of Regents meeting, as well as us to complete a campus climate survey that CPE will put out. One thing about HB4 is that it prohibits the use of resources for a discriminatory or for a diversity, equity, inclusion initiative or program. Resources is written very broadly. You can see there in the blue box that it's kind of written to encompass most everything. So we have told our college presidents that as they work through implementation of House Bill 4 to contact my office. So any questions that they have, we can look at them individually because context matters with a lot of these situations, and we can provide guidance from my office of any changes that need to occur. Areas that House Bill 4 does not impact, I kind of touched on this a little bit, but this has more than listed on this slide. Existing state and federal laws such as ADA, Civil Rights Act, Title IX, religious freedoms, the IDEA is there as well. A court order, a binding contract entered into prior to changes from House Bill 4 going into effect, which is June 27th of this year. Accommodations based on sex, religion, or national origin that are not a part of a DEI initiative. Differential treatment or benefits for medical purposes. Optional participation in resource centers. Resource centers are services and programming centers provided that participation by students, faculty, and staff is voluntary, that access to the center and the center services is not restricted based on religion, race, sex, color, or national origin. Activities and programs for veterans, Pell Grant recipients, low income, first generation, non-traditional students, KCTCS transfer students, or students with unique abilities. Guest speakers with short-term engagements, materials purchased or procured for use in the library, endowments for privately funded scholarships that existed before that June 27th deadline. However, the corpus or the principal amount of that endowment cannot be added to after June 27th. And then once that endowment, if it were to become exhausted, it would terminate at that point. Mental and physical health services provided by certified or licensed providers, and the institution's ability to investigate criminal or discriminatory acts under state and federal law. Like I said, there's quite a bit of compliance associated with House Bill 4. The first one is that governing board shall ensure compliance by June 30, 2025. And on a slide coming here in a little bit, we'll go over what we're going to ask you all to adopt at the June board meeting to ensure compliance. Beginning July 1 of 2026, each institution must submit an annual certification to the Council of Post-Secondary Education that is signed by Dr. Quarles and Todd Kilburn, our CFO, certifying that it has not spent any money in violation of House Bill 4. The Attorney General can bring a writ of mandamus to compel compliance. A writ of mandamus is a court order directing the government to perform a specific act that was required by law. So basically a court order requiring us to comply with House Bill 4. The Auditor of Public Accounts will establish a schedule for conducting compliance audits to review each institution at least once every 4 years. If they find any violations, we will have 180 days to cure those violations. By October 1 of each year, institutions must submit a report to LRC, the Legislative Research Commission, and publish prominently on its website that is certified by the institution's general counsel, containing a complete list and description of the nature, cost, and source of authority for all programs, practices, and procedures promoting differential treatment and benefits based on protected classes and that are required by federal and state law. If an institution fails to list such governmental mandate, it cannot be used as a defense in the event the Attorney General were to file a civil action for violation of the lawsuit. And I believe, Chris, or I believe you're serving on the task force to develop that survey with CPE. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I don't think, have you all met yet to discuss that?
Tomorrow morning.
Okay, so we're just a little bit early on that, but that is in the works, and I believe representatives from the various institutions are participating in that. So as I mentioned, there's an annual survey that Chris is working on the task force for that, as well as individuals from other institutions. By November 1st, that survey must be administered. It will be created by CPE, and it'll be sent to all students, faculty, and staff. It will ask them to evaluate to the extent they're exposed to a variety of ideological and political viewpoints and beliefs on campus and in the classroom, that they feel at liberty to express their ideological and political viewpoints and beliefs on campus and in the classroom. The survey results will be anonymous, and they must be compiled and submitted to CPE by January 1st, and they will be published on the CPE website by January 7th. The changes we've made, I kind of discussed this already. We have discussed HB4, House Bill 4 with President's leadership team multiple times. I've been working with all 16 colleges as well as the system office to ensure that we are compliant with House Bill 4. To the extent we largely were compliant just from the get-go, but making sure, double checking things are compliant moving forward now that the bill is going to be effective law as of June 27th. So what have we done? We have reviewed system and college web pages. Our marketing team has done an audit of that and has been working to cure anything that needs to be changed. We have evaluated programs and activities at both the system office and the colleges to make sure they are compliant with House Bill 4. We've also reviewed scholarship offerings and criteria to make sure they are also compliant with House Bill 4. All right, so that's an overview of House Bill 4. Before I jump into the changes that we'll be asking the board to make at the June Board of Regents meeting, do you all have any questions about House Bill 4?
Jessica, it's Brianna.
Yes.
And just pulling that bill up, and I'm assuming that you were going to get to this, is the changes that faculty and staff have already received email notification about regarding the cultural competency removal for the AA, AS, and AFA. Is that
Correct.
something that you're going to get to?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions before I move on? Okay, like Regent Whitten just mentioned, we will be asking you all to adopt at the June meeting a change in the Board of Regents policy 4.12, which is policy on collaborative program development. Right now, it is a requirement set by the Board of Regents that AA and AS students complete a course on cultural competency. Once House Bill 4 is effective, we will no longer be allowed to require that they complete that course. So we will be asking you all to vote to remove that requirement. However, any student can choose to take any cultural competency course if they wish. It will just no longer be a requirement for graduation. Does that answer your question, Regent Whitten?
Somewhat. So can you point me to the part of the policy directly where it says that those courses cannot be required for graduation? We're talking about courses like the history of Kentucky and Appalachian Studies and Sociology 101. These are not courses that are or have in the previous years been defined as, red line courses. So that's where my curiosity is. I've read through it, but I'm not a lawyer. You are a lawyer. So I was hoping that you could point me directly to where it says that we cannot require cultural competency as a requirement for graduation.
So it's not so much these courses that are the issue. It's the requirement that a cultural competency qualifying course is a requirement for graduation. So House Bill 4 says we cannot require any course or that could be related to diversity, equity, or inclusion, which could encompass cultural competency. So right now, I believe, Dr. Neal is here as well, I think there's a number of courses that meet or satisfy the cultural competency requirements, some of those that you mentioned, Regent Whitten. So basically, we just can't require students to take something that would qualify cultural competency, but if they want to take one of those courses as an elective, we have absolutely no issue with that. We just can't require the cultural competency.
Right, and my biggest fear, and Dr. Neal, I'm glad you're there, and you can hear, and I think you can attest to this as a president, and I know faculty members who are on here listening. If it's not a requirement for graduation, these courses typically go by the wayside because there are not faculty. Faculty don't have typical extra hours built into their schedules, especially with the way that we are staffed so across the system. So, the fear here is that these courses, some really great courses. I mean, I'm going to call out just a couple that I know are taught at my college, History of Kentucky by John Clee. I mean, it's an amazing course for our students, but, I just fear that without the idea of a requirement and a provision that specifically says that we cannot require that, why would these students then take those courses? Dr. Neal, I'm eager to hear your thoughts.
Well, I understand the concern there. I think many people have that concern about many of these items related to House Bill 4. I think one of the things that we, as Jessica was mentioning, is that the courses can still be taught as they always have been. And many of those courses, it's my understanding, many of those courses also fall under a social science classification or a humanities classification, so they can still be used for graduation requirements. And the cultural competency kind of double dips. You know, a student can take one course and meet both a social science and a cultural competency all in one course. So it doesn't really change, I don't think, the number of classes that a student needs to take. Now, there may be some courses that only meet a cultural competency and does not meet another classification. And that's where I think maybe you're alluding to, that if it doesn't meet any requirement after this one would be removed, would the students take it any longer? But I believe, I'll have to go back and double check, but I believe most of the courses that fit under the cultural competency also count underneath one of the other requirements, such as social sciences and humanities.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not aware of many that fall specifically just under cultural competency.
Right.
It's typically humanities, social, behavioral sciences, so on and so on. I just, I just think that that if it's not, I guess that was my question, is where is it specifically outlined in House Bill 4 that it says this has to be, the requirement has to be removed? I mean, and you can send that to me later or highlight the part of the policy where it says that. No need to belabor the conversation. I was just curious. Thank you.
Regent Witten, I have House Bill 4 in front of me, but I want to get you the particular section and line number, so I will send that to you after the meeting so you have that.
Thank you very much.
The next change we'll be asking you all to adopt is some revision to college mission statements that had a term such as diversity, equity, inclusion in their mission statement. So there will be 3 of those college mission statements you will be asked to review and approve from West Kentucky, Jefferson, and Hazard. I mentioned this earlier, the board will also be asked to adopt an institutional policy on neutrality. I believe we had a draft of this policy uploaded to your onboard documents if you want to look at it before the June board meeting. But it states that KCTCS will maintain a position of institutional neutrality on issues and events that do not directly affect the mission or function of the system. Only the KCTCS president or chair of the Board of Regents may speak on behalf of the institution. The student and employee free speech are not affected by this policy. KCTCS prohibits discrimination based on political or social viewpoint. And KCTCS shall not require any individual to endorse or condemn a specific ideology. Dr. Quarles mentioned this earlier as well, that every institution will be asked to adopt these changes. Eastern Kentucky University had their board meeting earlier this week and in fact voted to adopt all of these changes that you will be asked to adopt in June. The next is the board resolution of compliance. This document is also uploaded to Onboard if you would like to review in preparation for the June board meeting. But as I mentioned, that the House Bill 4 goes into effect on June 27th, and then the boards all, per statute, all boards, or per House Bill 4, which will become statute, all institutions and boards must be compliant with House Bill 4 by June 30th. Because the June board meeting is our last regularly scheduled board meeting before that date, we'll be asking you all to adopt a resolution of compliance, which basically says, based on the information that we have provided to you all, you are under this understanding that we are compliant with House Bill 4, and that you all will delegate the authority to ensure continued compliance to Dr. Quarles, the KCTCS president, and myself. That is it for the House Bill 4 section. Are there any questions related to House Bill 4 before we move on?
Just a comment or two, if you don't mind. On our end, I think we need some additional communication across KCTCS about this and other legislation, so we will continue to do that. As you can imagine, there's a lot of meetings with my counterparts in CPE, and so right now sometimes there's more questions than there are answers, and so we're going to focus on communications of this. And then just another area of accountability. This law requires myself, I think Jessica and Todd, to sign off at the end of the year, but we're also, asking our individual presidents and their respective business officers to sign off on these requirements as well. So there's a college level accountability on top of the system level accountability as other. That's all I've got.
All right, Chris, I will pass it over to you.
And sorry, Jessica, Dr. Crowell,
Yes,
Chair, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Dr. Crowell, the email that I referenced earlier, I believe it came from someone in the offices, directly related to that. Well, there'll be I can't talk today. More coffee, please. Will there be another email from perhaps the chancellor or you that goes out to all faculty and staff
Yes.
to make them aware of the changes to the AAAS and AFA?
Yes, I think that that's one thing we've identified this from the questions we're getting at the system office is that there's still perhaps a lot of questions about what this legislation does. And so as we're prepared to communicate that, those will be system-wide communications that go out to everyone. So yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Chris.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Wanted to provide an opportunity to update you on all of the news that's coming out of Washington. Over the last several months, there have been several executive actions, legislative actions, and other issues related to higher education. And we thought we might take a minute to wade through some of those details and help you all understand really what we are focused on and what is facing higher education. And so really that falls into a few buckets. The first is executive orders and other actions, either coming out of the White House or coming out of executive branch agencies. And several of those affecting higher education have fallen into categories that we have seen our own Kentucky General Assembly take on. We had the long discussion about House Bill 4. There have been executive orders related to DEI, immigration, gender identity, LGBTQ+ rights, research funding, and anti-Semitism coming from the White House that have had myriad and different effects on higher education, community colleges, four-year institutions. Jessica will have better details than I do, but almost every one of these executive orders has received some sort of legal challenge. And so the implementation and the effect of the executive orders has been a little rocky. A couple that we're paying close attention to is the recent executive order related to the Department of Education. The White House cannot unilaterally close the department. That does require an act of Congress. But what we have seen from that executive order and other agency actions is an effort to reduce the size, scope, and mission of the department. In terms of targeting specifically DEI programs, other gender ideology work that the department has been accused of undertaking in previous administrations. That has yielded significant staff and departmental reductions, several department mergers, and lots of discussion about relocating Department of Education activities to other federal agencies. A couple of the high-level ones are loan programs possibly being relocated to the Small Business Administration. That has not been done yet. But that is what has been suggested in terms of how the administration is going to manage the Department of Education. The other recent executive order is related to accreditation. And we've not seen any direct effect of that executive order on our own accreditation status or SAC-COC. Really what that order did was challenge the Department of Education to increase the number of eligible accrediting agencies, to open up the market, if you will. Also to ensure that accrediting agencies are requiring colleges and universities to operate in a viewpoint neutral, intellectually diverse manner free of discrimination. So again, you see very similar terminology in these executive orders that we have been managing as it relates to House Bill 4. The other directive in the accreditation executive order was to streamline the accreditation process. So that covers very briefly sort of the full scope of different executive orders that we've received out of Washington. If you can go to the next slide, please. The second bucket of issues that we're watching is the budget reconciliation process. Now, there was recent news just today and yesterday about several House committees finalizing their resolutions as it relates to reconciliation. And so that package will be moving through the House later this week and early next week. What we're particularly concerned about, and Dr. Quarles was in DC on Tuesday, and we met with the full federal delegation expressing these concerns. But the first and foremost are the changes in the reconciliation package, again, on the House side, related to Pell Grants. What the reconciliation package does is it removes Pell Grant eligibility for students who are enrolled in fewer than 8 credit hours. It changes the definition of full-time enrollment from 12 to 15 credit hours in order to be eligible for the maximum Pell Grant award. Those two things collectively are going to have adverse effect on community college students in particular. Certainly all of higher education will be affected, but in particular, just that by the nature of these proposals, community college students will be impacted to the greatest degree. We were happy to see in the reconciliation package the inclusion of workforce Pell. We certainly did acknowledge the appreciation for including that, but we really focused our conversations around our concerns in the Pell Grant changes. Also included in the
you don't mind, so if the proposed language as written were to advance, which we expect it to change, so it's good news for us, it would affect 32,000 students. So nearly 1 in 3 of our students would be affected if the current language were to stay. But we felt like we had some pretty good discussions, particularly on the Senate side, of the magnitude of what these changes could do nationwide. You know, this isn't a Kentucky specific issue, but we do think that the big issue here is that we don't want the Pell Grant language to be overshadowed by other items in this CR reconciliation process. And so I feel like we had a really productive meeting on Tuesday.
Second component of that package is related to risk sharing. Now, for those who are not familiar with risk sharing, what it does is it puts colleges and universities on the hook for unpaid student loan debt from our graduates and students who do not complete their degree. This is a provision that we've seen in previous Congresses before. We got a really strong signal when we met with Senate Help Committee staff that the Senate in particular is going to scrutinize including risk sharing when the bill gets over across the Capitol to the Senate. So we were happy to hear that about the risk sharing provision as well. The third piece of the budget reconciliation proposal is eliminating federal subsidized student loans and flexible loan repayment options upon graduation. So collectively, these 3 topics do present some considerable challenges for maintaining affordability and accessibility in higher education, and particularly with our community colleges and our students. And so we did share that message. And as Dr. Quarles had indicated, we had several House members who voluntarily took it upon themselves to share these concerns with Chairman Wahlberg, who chairs the House Education and Workforce Committee. And then we also got good signals from our Senate partners with Senator Paul and Senator McConnell, and then our conversations with the Senate Help Committee staff. So we'll continue to watch this process unfold. As I mentioned, I think where we go from here, the House will continue to have its work wrapped up by Memorial Day, and then the Senate will take on the business and make the changes that they deem appropriate. And that's where we hope to see the success of our messaging take hold. The third bucket is the FY26 budget request. So this is different than the reconciliation process. This is the first step in sort of the regular federal appropriations process. President Trump issued his budget request at the end of April, and it too has some very concerning proposals for higher education, for community colleges, and for KCTCS in particular. And so we took opportunities on Tuesday to talk about the issues we have with that spending package. Before I go into those, though, I do want to be very clear that the president's budget request is the first step in a very long federal appropriations process. I think the federal fiscal year ends on September 30th. And I think you'll recall from the last appropriations process, it took until March to get a continuing resolution to extend all the way through September 30th. So this is a long process that I expect will go beyond the start of the new fiscal year. So there'll be a lot of opportunities to engage and message further on those proposals that we're concerned about. So we are particularly concerned with the president's budget request, eliminating TRIO and Gear Up, eliminating adult education, reductions to federal work-study programs, reductions to supplemental educational opportunity grants, and other programs that one or more of our colleges benefit from currently. Where we have gotten the strongest signal so far, though, is that Congress is going to assert their authority and their power of the purse in this process. Senate A&R Chairwoman Susan Collins has already emphasized, and I included her quote that came out the same day that the president's budget request came out, that she's very concerned about, among other things, eliminating programs like TRIO. There's strong bipartisan support for TRIO in Congress, and so we feel good right now about the opportunities to move away from some of the proposals included in the president's budget request as Congress does their work to draft the FY26 budget. Dr. Quarles, did you want to share anything additional on some of our TRIO conversations?
Again, just to emphasize that this is a national issue. I think there's going to be concern from folks all across the country on this, and that just like similar concerns with Pell is that it affects the American students who need the most help.
Regent Whitten
has a question.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Chris and Dr. Quarles, I'm not really sure who this question would be better answered by you, and perhaps the Chancellor. When we're talking about how we are reacting to these, it's already been brought to my attention from several institutions across the state that we support, right, our 16, that we have already cut positions in these areas. People have already lost their jobs. Can you speak to that and how we're handling that, or is that just that is an individual college's decision and determination from the CAO's office? So, Dr. Neal, this might be a good question for you.
I've not been told that anybody has lost their job yet. Adult education is the one that we have asked for. What would the cuts from the state, which are different than what we're talking about here in the federal, because the state has already issued their award letters out to us. I'm not aware, but we can certainly check to see if any contracts are scheduled for non-renewal at this point. But we have been trying to assess the impact, the personnel impact that it would have if the current state funding sticks, with the state funding cuts stick for the adult ed programs.
And that actually is my concern, Dr. Neal, because I'm looking at some numbers here that someone sent me. Of course, someone that works actually in that department, that the state funding was cut, but the state funding is not the primary funding for adult ed, correct?
Yeah, there's the adult ed is braided funding between state and federal aid. And so the state contracts went out just in the last couple of weeks to the colleges and other entities that manage adult ed programs that we don't manage. Everybody has experienced a cut in that, but that is not impact. We clarified that with Kentucky Adult Ed, that what is being proposed on the screen in President Trump's proposed budget to completely cut out the federal funding has no impact on the funding letters that went out just recently. So if this budget cut that you see on the screen were to go forward, it would be even deeper cuts if the state did not pick up the tab.
And Regent Whitten, we're in progress on trying to figure out our options on that. It came somewhat as a surprise to us, as it did at the colleges as well. We had a meeting as recently as last Friday with the Secretary of the Cabinet, and then while I was in DC, Provost Neal and others here in the office had a meeting with the commissioner that oversees adult ed. So we're trying to figure out what our options are right now.
Yeah, Monday we met with Commissioner Yoder, addressed the concerns from all of our colleges on adult ed. We've asked him to work with his staff this week and come back and present and listen to the concerns of the presidents at PLT next week.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chris? What else do you have, Chris?
That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
That's all the good news that you have today, right?
Yes, sir. To that end, if I might, Mr. Chair, one of the other messages that we talked about are some of the congressionally directed spending opportunities that we think can really accelerate some of the work that KCTCS is doing. And we did get some positive feedback on that. So it wasn't all doom and gloom when we were in DC on Tuesday. We were able to touch gloves with every member of the Kentucky delegation, and they're very excited about the direction the KCTCS is headed. So while I led with sort of what we're concerned about, what we're watching, I do want to make sure that everybody knows we did have some positive conversations.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else in regards to our federal and state policy updates? Okay, next agenda item is review the June 12th and 13th, 2025 KCTCS Board of Regents meeting agenda.
Okay. I'm going to dive in really quickly. So we're going to start on day one. There will be an opportunity for a tour at 10 o'clock a.m. at Elizabethtown Community and Technical College. And then we will have a lunch, probably starting around 11:30. And then the board meeting will start officially at noon. We will start with the call to order and roll call. We will have a very short welcome on the first day by Dr. Pate, the ECTC president. We will then move into the approval of minutes and the chair's report. During the chair's report, Regent Hamilton will be leading a review of the board self-evaluation that's required for accreditation. Then we will move into the president's report, and then increase organization success. I am going to say we're probably going to move this section around a little bit. The action items will still be here, but we will move it around. We have a couple of regions that are not going to be able to attend on the second day, and there is a higher quorum requirement for financial items. So we're going to move those to the very beginning just to make sure we make it through all of those while we have everyone in attendance. So the way it's scheduled, as I said, we may flip the order, but we have the House Bill 4 related items on here first, currently with the institutional and viewpoint neutrality policy, followed with the House Bill 4 Board of Regents resolution, the strategic plan changes, and then we have the college mission statements that need to be changed. I will point out that only 3 of those are related to House Bill 4. Owensboro is currently going through the accreditation process, and they needed to have that voted on early. So that Owensboro is not based on the House Bill 4 changes, but since we're voting on those, that will be included there.
May I make a statement? You'll see right above the college mission statement piece that I'll be presenting the strategic plan, our current strategic plan that is in place this year, unless next year will be the last year of our current strategic plan. That will have to be revised due to House Bill 4. We'll have to change some language or take out some language, and we'll present that to you within our current strategic plan. You'll also see a strategic plan presentation later in the agenda. That's talking about the development of our new strategic plan for the next 4 years that would go into place a year from this summer. But I just wanted to clarify that there's 2 sections on your agenda where you'll see strategic plan, and make sure you understand what the difference is.
Okay, and then is the next one would be the policy 4.12 collaborative program development. Then this is probably the chunk that will move up to the front. We will start with an update on the financial report from Todd. We will then have action on 25-26 tuition, an action on the KCTCS compensation for 25-26, then action on the 25-26 KCTCS budget. Then Chair Cox will provide a report from the audit committee meeting. Then we will have an action vote on the internal audit contract extension. Then action item with the ratification of personnel actions, an action item on the KCTCS president evaluation, and an action on the KCTCS presidential contract. Then we will move into the open comment period and then have the KCTCS Board of Regents officer elections on the first day. Any questions for day one?
Shannon, this is Brianna. I know we had said previously at the, I believe it was at the March meeting, we had kind of, some of the regents had suggested that, yeah, I know this is a lot of material to get into onboard, but we had requested specifically from Todd Kilburn that we be provided with those financials a little bit maybe earlier, because that's just a lot of information to get through typically. I didn't know if that was still the plan in order for us to get that just a little bit early, if possible.
Happy to do it.
Sounds good. Day two.
Day two. Okay. Day two, we will start at 9 a.m. I do believe there will be a community breakfast that morning prior to the board meeting, where legislators will be invited and community members. So we will start with that. I'm not sure on timing, but we will get a full itinerary out with enough time for you all to plan. And then we will start that morning at 9 a.m. with a call to order, roll call, and then Dr. Pate will give the normal presentation about Elizabethtown Community and Technical College that morning. Then we will dive back into increase organization success with the presentation on strategic planning that Dr. Neal mentioned. Then we will have an update from Dr. Stith on philanthropy. We are going to need, I was just notified, to add an action item here on a building naming in Madisonville. We will be adding that under the philanthropy item. Then we will move into an update on facility support services, an update on the forensic audit, and then we will have a few more action items with bylaw revisions, voting procedure, and then voting to finalize the 2026 board meeting dates. Then we will.
Shannon, I have a quick question.
Okay.
Any chance that we won't have a quorum on Friday?
I am aware of 2 members that will not be there on Friday. I have not been made aware of anyone else. If it's only 2, we should be okay.
Okay. But just maybe remind me that we need to put something out before the board meeting to make sure that we have quorums on both days.
Okay. Okay. Then we will move into increased learner success. Dr. Neal will be presenting on the online learning assessment plan, the enrollment report, and certificate and program approvals. Then we have an action item with a new program to be approved. And then we have our ratification of the college's candidates for credentials. And then, as always, we recognize our 2 amazing student regents by individually voting on them as candidates for credentials. So we will do Regent Schaus and Regent Higdon. And then we will move into increased employment success, where Jesse will provide a workforce and economic development update. I'm not certain we need an executive session, but we have it tentatively scheduled for the second day.
I did want to ask you all, I think historically we've had an executive session at the end of every board meeting. If there haven't been any changes in any of our ongoing litigation since the last executive session, do you all still want to have an executive session related to litigation, or pass it until I actually have something to report on?
I think James Lee is giving you the answer.
No.
Okay, that was my thought as well. I know people are ready to get out by that time, and if I don't have anything substantive to report, I'd rather we all go on our way. But thank you for that clarification and verification of what I was thinking.
As long as there's no new updates, it seems senseless just to go in as a process. So I agree with James Lee that we probably shouldn't, as long as it's not necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then we will announce the next meeting, which is scheduled for September 18th and 19th, and then adjourn.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or input on our agenda?
Just a point of note, that 18th, 19th September meeting, is that in Versailles?
It's that'd be JCTC. be in Louisville. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Anything else in regards to the agenda? Okay, thank you very much, Shannon. Do you have anything else, Shannon, in regards to that?
I didn't.
Okay. Any new business that we need to address?
Yes, sir.
Mr.
I have a question for Dr. Qualls, please.
Yes, Chamberlain.
Dr. Qualls, would it be possible by the September meeting that your office can give us a grade card or scorecard on a Huron report, what's been done, where we are? Because as you know, we spent a lot of money, and I just think we'll have some new board members come on board. I just think that it would be good that, if possible, to you to give us a report card on that and what we've accomplished and what we're still working on and what we've decided we're not going to do anything with. Thank you, sir.
Yes, that's a very appropriate and timely topic because it's not just Huron, it's also SJR 179. It's also CPE initiatives and that easily add up to over 100 separate initiatives and recommendations. So we're happy to do that, Regent Stevens. And Chair Martin, just a quick update.
Yes.
As you all saw in your emails, we have a new president at Southeast Harrison. We're so proud of her ascension to the presidency. She'll be starting July 1st. We had a great trip to DC as well, and we'll be inviting other members of KCTCS to DC later in the year. Tomorrow we have very key and paramount meetings with legislators. So we're already working on the 26th legislative session. And speaking of evaluations, we continue to do the executive team and cabinet evaluations, and we'll be starting our presidential evaluations next month. And two really cool events coming up. Student Leadership Academy is tomorrow, and I know a couple of our regents will be speaking there. We'll be selecting our student regents for the next year. And we're bringing back the KCTCS annual convention next week, first time in I believe in 11 years. It'll be a soft opening. It's going to be a lot of fun. Excited about that. And once again, congratulations to our student regents for officially graduating this semester. So congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay. Anything else, Dr. Quarles?
That's it.
Okay. Sounds good then. So we will see each other on June 12th at E-Town.
Yep.
So you all have a good afternoon and evening, and we will see you then. And do I call for a motion for adjournment?
Yes, Chair.
I'm sorry?
I think Regent Stevens made the motion.
Okay,
Second.
Regent Stevens?
Second by Regent Whitten.
Second?
Any objections to the motion to adjourn? The motion passes by consensus. We are adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
You guys have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice done.